Fort Laramie. Fort Laramie, starring Raymond Burr as Kaptan Lee Quince. Specially transcribed tales of the dark and tragic ground of the wild frontier, the saga of fighting men who rode the rim of empire, and the dramatic story of Lee Quince, Captain of Cavalry.
All right, you men, at ease. I said at ease.
What's the cavalry gonna do to win glory today, Sergeant?
I'm glad you spoke up, Soothie. You and Private Plover there have just volunteered to make mud bricks for the new powder magazine building.
No, Sergeant. Me and Plover worked in that adobe all day yesterday.
Another month, you ought to be finished.
I didn't join this army to make mud bricks.
You refusing an order, Soothie?
Put your shoes on, Plover. Let's get going.
Now, the rest of you men will finish cleaning this barracks and fall out in 10 minutes.
I suppose you're taking them buffalo hunting,
Each
Sergeant.
man will go to supply and get a pick or a shovel. We're building a road today. That's enough. I said 10 minutes. You line up smiling and happy, or I'll work you all night.
You got your shoes on, Plover?
Well, sure. What I need shoes for? I'll be on my hands and knees most of the time.
Ain't it a shame, men like us doing that kind of work?
Yeah. I'm ready, Soothie.
Then let's go. 10 minutes, soldiers, and don't forget them shovels.
I reckon any outfit's got to do some time in garrison, Soothie.
We've been in garrison 3 months. It's got me talking to myself.
Well, leastwise, we ain't getting shot at by no wild Indians.
What's the cavalry for if it ain't to get shot at and to do a little shooting itself?
All Indians around here is peaceable. Leastwise, there has been the last few months.
Reservation Indians. Them Cheyenne ought to be ashamed of themselves. Sitting around watching the women do the work, waiting to be fed by the government. Where's the gumption, anyway?
Well, good thing they is peaceable, I think. Them Indians go on a tear makes it bad for everybody.
They go on a tear to get us out of the garrison.
Well, they ain't going, so you just might as well face up to it.
I could make them go, Clover.
Oh, now, stop that talk.
I've told you how I could make them go.
Now, looky here, Soothie, I ain't even gonna listen to you. Why, you could be shot for just what you're thinking.
Nobody'd ever know.
You know you're crazy. Being stuck here in a fort so long has driven you plumb crazy.
Your mouth's getting awful big, Clover.
Oh, now, don't get on the prod. Looky here, I'll tell you what. Tonight, you and me gonna sneak off the post, and we'll go into town and have us a drink of that gal you like. That Ella Braden. How about that, Soothie?
Never you mind, Ella Braden. You called me crazy.
Oh, I didn't mean nothing by
I
it.
ain't crazy, and I'll prove it to you.
You put that knife away, Soothie.
You got a knife? Get it out.
No.
Get it out, I said. I'm gonna cut you, Clover. I'll do it.
All right, that's how you want it. Now, there's my knife. Now you cut me, Soothie. Come on, now cut me.
I'll lay your whole face open, soldier.
Hold it, you men.
Lieutenant Syberts,
You don't mean nothing to me.
Cap quits with him, Soothie.
Watch your face!
I'll rip your belly open. You try that again.
Stop that man. Put those knives away.
It's a fair fight. You got no right to stop
Do
me.
as I say, Soothie.
You cut me, I'll put mine away.
I can't quit less than he does.
All right, Susie. You too, Plover. I know you're on edge being in garrison so long, but that's part of soldiering. And so's keeping your temper. Now put those knives away before we all get in trouble.
Well, here's mine. All right, you hear the captain, Silty.
There's mine.
You men on detail?
Making mud pies again, Captain.
Then get to it. If there's any more fighting, you'll go to the guardhouse. That clear?
Yes, sir.
Move
Yes,
out.
sir.
Those men are crazy enough to have stuck you, Captain, getting between them that way.
One of them might have stuck me, Mr. Syberts, not both of them.
They need action, Captain. They're soldiers, not laborers.
Yeah, they're even forgetting to think like soldiers. There's going to be more trouble like this, Mr. Syberts. A lot more. Captain Quince reporting, sir.
At ease, Captain. Well, how's B Company getting along?
Well, Major Daggett, I guess B Company's getting along about the way you'd expect.
Like those 2 men of yours last week who were going at each other with knives?
I didn't know you'd heard about that, Major.
I heard about it. I also heard how you failed to punish them.
With all due respect, sir, it's my company.
And you know I never interfere on a company level.
I'd transfer out of here if you did.
Oh, I'm sure you would. It isn't easy, is it, Lee?
Much more of this, I'll be looking for a good fight myself.
Enforced inactivity, the bane of the cavalry.
That and the salt pork diet. 2 more of my men came down with scurvy today, Major.
That's what I wanted to see you about, Lee.
Huh?
How'd you like to go on a buffalo hunt?
Buffalo hunt? I thought we couldn't
Yeah,
go
I know. General orders are to avoid antagonizing the Indians by hunting buffalo in their territory.
We're sitting right in the middle of their territory.
22 cases of scurvy are enough. Higher orders are to hold Fort Laramie with a full complement of cavalry. Captain Quince, you think you can bring in some fresh meat without starting a new Indian war?
I can try, sir.
I'm dependent on you.
Yes, sir.
You'll take 15 men, 2 wagons, and 6 mules. You'll leave 1/2 hour after reveille tomorrow morning. You'll return Saturday by sundown without fail. Exactly 1 week from today. Any questions?
No, sir.
I hope you'll see fit to include those 2 men, Soothie and Plover, in your party.
I intend to, sir. As Skinners.
And move out.
Hey, Soothie, how you feel? Not so good, Plover. I'm bleeding again.
Or most to the fort. Here, see the men? They're standing around waiting on us.
That's what the captain said. Saturday by sundown. We made it.
Yeah, some of us made it.
8 of us.
8 out of 15. 7 men killed.
We done all right.
I reckon so. Hey, looky, there's Major Daggett. He's waiting too, you see him?
No. I can't see so good, Plover. My head hurts bad. Everything's kind of swimmy.
You ain't gonna pass out now, are you?
The way you got me roped onto this saddle wouldn't matter none if I did pass out.
Well, these other boys hurt worse than you.
I ain't complaining.
Vince up ahead there, he passed out. Got him tied belly down across his saddle.
And I reckon he's dead.
We're here, Soothie. We're back.
I can't see nothing but the fort. Oh, my head hurts awful.
Patrol, halt! Corporal Mercer, you'll remain with the wounded. They'll stay mounted. Sergeant Gorse, get a detail from the garrison to help these men down, get them to the hospital. Yes, sir. Rest of you stable the horses. Patrol dismissed. Mr. Seibert!
Yes, sir.
Would you take my horse to the stable for me?
Certainly, Captain.
I'd better report to the major there.
Yes, sir.
If you'd care to, come by my quarters later. I'll find us a drink.
Thank you, sir.
Captain Quince reporting, sir.
You're not hurt, Lee.
No, sir.
What happened?
Cheyenne, over 100 Braves hit us. Dawn 2 days ago. I had a guard posted, but they rode right over them. 7 troopers killed in battle. Another died in his saddle about noon today. Wagons, mules lost.
I sent a scout looking for you.
He never found us. What is it, Major? Cheyenne jumped the reservation?
Yeah. And nobody knows why. They slipped out in the middle of the night and disappeared.
I can't figure it. Big Wolf's been as peaceful a chief as I've known.
Big Wolf's young son died a couple of weeks ago. Maybe that got him started.
I think I'll ride out to the reservation tomorrow. Take a look around.
What for?
No particular reason, Major. Just curious.
Captain, I don't think them Cheyenne left a single thing out here.
Yeah, they sure stripped the place, Gorse.
I guess when you ain't got much, you don't leave nothing behind at all.
Oh,
Captain, all them poles over there with the burying platforms on them.
what about them?
They're all new, Captain. I mean, they're empty. There's no corpses laying on them.
Can't be new. They must have taken their dead with them, Sergeant. I don't understand it.
That ain't like them. Why would they do that?
They were in quite a hurry.
What do you mean?
Look at that grave over there. It's half torn down.
Yeah. Kind of spooky out here, ain't it?
Yeah. Well, we'll stop in town on the way back, Sergeant.
Now you're making this detail worthwhile, Captain.
Yeah, I got some business at the post office.
Post office?
But I'll meet you at the saloon when I'm through.
I'll be there, Captain. You can depend on me. Of course, we don't make much money, but, well, soldiering's an honorable profession. It's better than being a thief, ain't it?
I hope I'm not intruding, Sergeant Gorse.
Captain? Captain Quince, this here's Ella Braden.
How do you do, Ella?
Pleased to meet you, Captain. Won't you sit down?
Oh, thanks.
I've been trying to explain to Ella that soldiers are just as good as civilians.
I never said they weren't, Sergeant.
Sergeant Gorse has been in the cavalry 20 years, Ella. He's still trying to figure out why.
I think you're right, Captain. It's all he talks about.
Now, that ain't so.
I mean, when you're being a gentleman, Sergeant.
Oh.
You know what he did a couple of weeks ago, Captain?
Now, Ella.
What'd he do, Ella?
Well, he... Nah, I'm too much of a lady to say it.
Thank goodness for that, anyway.
Ella, if Gorse gets out of line, just you whack him with a bottle. It's the only kind of language he understands sometimes.
Oh, I got something better to whack him with, Captain. It's carved from solid bone.
What?
Here, I got it in this sack. Brought it in to show to the barkeep.
Now, what in the world is that, Ella?
Let me see that.
It's an Indian souvenir of some kind.
Where'd you get this, Ella?
A kid at the fort gave it to me. He found it somewhere, I guess.
Who gave it to you?
His name is Suthi.
Suthi.
Well, what's wrong, Captain?
This is a Cheyenne totem, Ella. I'm gonna have to keep it.
Oh, here, now, that's mine. You give it back.
Sorry, Ella. You'll have to find another souvenir. This one's caused enough trouble.
Morning, Captain Quince.
Lieutenant Mather, I want to see Private Suthi. Where's his bed?
At the far end, Captain. There, where Sergeant Gorse is.
Thank you.
Captain?
Gorse? Hello, Suthi.
Oh, Captain Quince. How are you, sir?
How are you feeling, Suthi?
Oh, pretty good, Captain. Except for my head aching all the time.
You'll get over it.
I better. I can't stand it this way, sir. I wish they'd killed me if I gotta go on like this.
Suthi, you seen this before?
I don't know, Captain. What is it?
You know what it is. Where'd you get it?
I can't help you, Captain. Sorry, maybe later sometime.
Now, look here, Soothie. You know I won't take an answer like
Captain
that.
Quince.
What is it, Sergeant?
Would you step over here a minute, sir?
All right. What do you want?
My head always stop aching.
Oh, I see. All right, Sergeant.
Aches all the time.
Well, Soothie, I won't bother you anymore. I know all I need to anyway.
I don't know what you're talking about, Captain.
I ought to hate you, Soothie. But I only feel sorry for you. What you've done, I'm going to try to set right. But whether I can or not, you're going to have to live with it the rest of your life. I think I'm speaking for a lot of good men who died because of you. Sergeant,
Yes, sir.
I'll meet you at the main gate in half an hour. Have our horses saddled and packed with 2 days' rations. Move out.
I find this hard to believe, Captain.
Major Daggett, I've always tried to think of every trooper in my company as a real soldier. Somehow it makes me feel less of one myself when I find out about a man like Private Soothie.
I can understand that, Captain Quince. I sympathize with you.
Yes, sir.
But what you propose to do about it is nothing short of suicide. I can't allow that.
I'm meeting Sergeant Gorse at the main gate in a few minutes, Major. I'm volunteering for this mission. If he goes with me, he'll have to volunteer, too.
Big Wolf and his Cheyenne are a mission for the entire 2nd Cavalry, Captain, not for 2 men only.
It was me those Cheyenne warriors hit, Major. It was my men I watched die. This mission belongs to B Company. To me. Not to the 2nd Cavalry.
You're putting a terrible responsibility on me, Captain Quince.
As a volunteer? I don't see how, Major.
All right, go ahead.
Thank you, sir.
Oh, Lee,
Yes, sir.
I'll give you one order. You're to return to Fort Laramie within 2 weeks, without fail.
More coffee, Gorse?
I could sure use it.
It's hot.
I can see that. Thanks, Captain.
This is better than Garrison, isn't it, Sergeant?
Oh, it sure is. Night's full of stars. We had a good dinner, pork and chickpeas. Coffee's hot, there's plenty of it. Got a big fire going here, lots of wood. There's nothing wrong with this, Captain. Except for one little thing, maybe.
What's that, Sergeant?
Oh, it's hardly worth mentioning.
Oh, go ahead. Speak up.
Well, from all the sign we seen today, I'd guess we're smack in the middle of about 4 Cheyenne war parties.
I think you're right, Sergeant.
Of course, I don't know for sure, but with this bonfire we got going, I got a sneaky idea them Injuns just might catch on to our being here sooner or later.
They might. Sorry you came along, Sergeant?
I volunteered. Interesting mission, you said.
Yeah. I also said we might get killed, didn't I?
You didn't say how.
I don't know how, Sergeant.
I'll bet I could tell you.
Not interested. We get killed, this mission will be a failure.
Now, say I hadn't thought of that. Now, that'd be a doggone shame, wouldn't it, Captain?
It would.
I can just see all them generals back in Washington sitting around a big shiny table saying, that darn fool captain, that darn fool sergeant couldn't accomplish a simple little old mission. What's the cavalry coming to? That's what they'll be saying.
Throw some wood on the fire, Gorse. You're closest.
Sure. Captain Quince,
Yeah?
they're here. All around us.
Step back to the fire. Real slow.
They can see anything at all. They can see we ain't armed.
They wouldn't show themselves this close if they didn't know that.
They're coming in, Captain.
Stand steady, Sergeant. No sudden movements.
It's sure some fine way for the cavalry to go Indian hunting.
We found them, didn't we?
What happens now?
That's not entirely up to us, Sergeant. Easy now.
Sure.
Zilaho di na yi.
Alo, Zilo.
Diish lai nya.
Aise over Rio Onzo.
What's he saying?
He says he'll take us to Big Wolf, all right. He says the chief wouldn't want to miss the torture before they kill us. You wake, Gorse?
Who could do any sleeping tied up like this?
It'll be dawn soon.
I just ain't looking forward to it today, Captain.
At least we'll get out of this teepee.
You know, this is the first time I was ever inside one. I ain't missed a thing.
Oh, I don't know. A teepee can be pretty nice when you got a fire going and a buffalo robe to wrap up in.
Maybe some antelope steak for breakfast, a jug of spring water, maybe a woman to do all the work.
Well, you're spoiled, Gorse. Rotten spoiled.
Well, it ain't the frontier life did it, Captain, I can tell you that.
You never should have left home.
O Ishnaizo Valaya.
He says they're ready for us, Sergeant.
O Oivazi Niava.
What was that?
Big Wolf hasn't returned. They've decided not to wait for him.
But,
He
Captain...
was our only chance. I could have talked to Big Wolf. Not these other warriors, not even worth trying.
Ishlai Ani.
He's gonna cut us loose.
Why not? With 100 braves out there, we ain't going no place.
They can tie a man up awful tight.
I ain't even sure I can walk.
Ailea Azo.
Well, let's go, Sergeant.
Sure.
Sergeant,
What is it?
Big Wolf. He's back.
Thank heaven for that.
Well, it's a chance, at least.
There he is. Say, he looks like a chief, don't he?
Yeah, he does.
Kaptan Quince,
Hello, Big Wolf.
my people are ready for your death.
I know. We allowed ourselves to be captured, Big Wolf.
This I do not understand.
I wanted to see you. I wanted to bring you something.
White soldier has brought shame and dishonor to my people and to me.
You're speaking of your son's grave.
White soldier come at night, left my son's body on ground.
Yes. And he stole this from your son's grave.
The totem of my clan.
The white soldier did this to dishonor you, Big Wolf.
Cheyenne recover honor in war and by killing you.
Let me say something first, Big Wolf. It was neither of us did this thing. It was a soldier who was weak and foolish and bad. This soldier has dishonored me as well as you. We do not want war with your people.
Who is soldier?
His name's Suthi.
Give him to me.
No, I can't do that.
Then you must die.
You have already killed 8 soldiers, Big Wolf. Soon many soldiers will come. More soldiers than you have braves.
Give me Suthi.
So you can punish him?
He must be punished. He must die.
Big Wolf, when you wake in the morning and step outside your lodge, what do you see? Tell me.
I see the sun on the land, morning shadows, bright mountains.
And if you could not see all this?
It would not be good.
The white soldier, Suthi, has already been punished, Big Wolf.
By you, it is not enough.
No, not by me. By your warriors in the fight. He is blind, Big Wolf.
Blind?
Blind for the rest of his life. His punishment will never stop.
You are brave men to come here with the Totem.
There must be no war between our people.
The thing is done. 7 of my warriors died in fight. It is enough.
We ride back in peace?
Yes.
Then we've won, Big Wolf. We've both won.
Fort Laramie is produced and directed by Norman MacDonald and stars Raymond Burr as Lee Quince, Captain of Cavalry, with Vic Perrin as Sergeant Gorse. The script was specially written for Fort Laramie by John Meston, with sound patterns by Bill James and Ray Kemper. Musical supervision by Amerigo Marino. Featured in the cast were Sam Edwards, Harry Bartell, Jack Moyles, Jack Crucian, Howard Culver, and Vivi Janis.
Company, tension! Dismiss.
Next week, another transcribed story of the Northwest frontier and the troopers who fought under Lee Quince, Captain of Cavalry. The time to fight heart disease is now, before another victim is hurt. Obviously, heart researchers may not find the cures and preventatives to all heart ailments the moment you contribute to the Heart Fund. But the sooner you do your part, the closer they'll come to answering the mysteries of the heart. Send your contributions to Heart, care of your local postmaster. That's Heart, H-E-A-R-T, Heart, care of your local postmaster.
At the gallop! Ho!
Fort Laramie. Fort Laramie, starring Raymond Burr as Captain Lee Quince. Specially transcribed tales of the dark and tragic ground of the wild frontier. the saga of fighting men who rode the rim of empire, and the dramatic story of Lee Quince, Captain of Cavalry.
"83 men for duty. Hardy and Simmons in the hospital. 5 men on leave, Captain."
All right, Corporal Mercer. Just leave the morning report on the desk.
Yes, sir. One of the 3 new men is transferred out here from Fort Laramie and been assigned a 2nd platoon, sir.
Come in.
Captain Quince, the supply train's on its way in.
Oh, good.
Lieutenant Syberts is sending the train on to the quartermaster's depot, but he said he'd be right here.
All right, thanks, Jenkins.
Oh,
Supply train in from the railroad at Cheyenne, Captain. All stores is ordered.
Anything to report, Mr. Syberts?
Cracked hub, 2 mules lame, 1 destroyed, otherwise routine, sir.
Your command have a good time in Cheyenne?
I think they did. I noticed a few skinned knuckles.
Any complaints from the civilian authorities?
No, sir.
All right, Syberts. Sign out to the quartermaster. Water and turn your stock out in the South Range. Dismiss your men. They're relieved from further duty until... What's that buggy doing in your train?
Oh, I was gonna tell you about that, sir. We had a passenger, a lady.
Lady?
Mrs. Wentner. She's the widow of an officer who was stationed here.
That must have been Captain Wentner.
Said he was killed by Cheyenne.
That's right. 3-4 years ago, up in Lance Creek. His whole command was wiped out.
That was before my time. Wonder what she's doing here.
She didn't tell you?
No, sir. Handsome woman.
I take it you enjoyed your trip then, Mr. Syberts?
Not bad, sir. May I give you a hand, ma'am?
Thank you.
Miss Wentner, I'm Captain Quince. Welcome to Fort Laramie.
How do you do, Captain? Are you the post commandant?
No, ma'am. That would be Major Daggett. We didn't expect you, Mrs. Wentner. Perhaps your letter was delayed.
There was no letter. I told no one I was coming.
If we had, we might have arranged a more fitting reception and better transportation.
This was quite satisfactory. I rented the horse and buggy in Cheyenne, and the lieutenant furnished me a driver. You were very considerate, Lieutenant Syberts.
Thank you, Mrs. Wentner. Now, if you'll excuse me, I'll get back to the train.
Of course. Thank you, Lieutenant.
Pleasure, ma'am.
If you'll come with me, Mrs. Wentner, I'll take you in to meet Major Daggett.
All right, Captain. Thank you.
Take care of the horse and buggy, Jenkins.
yes, sir.
Did you know my husband, Captain Quince?
Why, yes.
Out here?
That's right.
I don't remember him mentioning you in his letters, but it seems to me there was a Quince in his class at West Point.
Oh, I wasn't at the point, Mrs. Wentner. I was commissioned in the field at Shenandoah. Up from the ranks.
Oh, I see.
Here we are.
Come in. Oh.
Major Daggett, this is Mrs. Wentner. Just came in with a supply train.
Oh, this is a pleasure, Mrs. Wentner?
That's right, Major. I'm Philip Wentner's widow.
Oh, yes. Won't you sit down?
Thank you.
I didn't know your husband myself, Mrs. Wentner, but I've been assured that his death was a great loss to the Army. Even more tragic for yourself, of course.
It was a horrible thing. And even worse, a terrible, unnecessary thing. He could have been safe in Washington. I arranged it all with the president himself.
I see.
I could never understand why Philip refused it, but he was a stubborn man.
Well, he was very popular here, I understand. Isn't that right, Captain Quince?
He was a good field officer, Miss Wentner. Perhaps he wouldn't have been happy at some desk in Washington.
It might have been better for him to be a little unhappy and alive today, mightn't it, Captain?
That's hard to say, ma'am.
Well, at any rate, we're happy to have you here, Mrs. Wentner. Sorry we weren't prepared, but I'm sure Mrs. Daggett will be able to arrange things comfortably. You'll stay with my wife and me, of course.
Thank you, Major.
And perhaps we can use your visit as an excuse to liven things up around here. We've had very few social activities. Might even arrange a reception or something of the sort.
Major Daggett, I'm not here for social reasons.
Well, what I meant was...
Major Daggett, I came to get my husband's body.
Mrs. Wintner, your husband's not buried here at the fort.
I know that. But you see, I want him recovered and taken back east. I've arranged that he will be buried with full military honors in Arlington Cemetery.
But his grave is 100 miles from here, up on Lance Creek, where he was killed.
I've already come 2,000 miles. Another 100 doesn't matter.
I don't think you understand. That's Indian territory. Cheyenne and Sioux hunting ground, treaty territory. Aside from the very real danger, my orders strictly forbid any white person to enter that region, including my own troopers.
Perhaps this letter will clear your mind. You will see it signed by the Secretary of War himself.
Yeah. Yes, I see.
So, Major Daggett, I shall want to leave for Lance Creek as soon as possible.
And you expect me to send you there with a troop escort, of course?
The letter says every assistance possible.
It also says within the scope of my orders and with due consideration for your safety.
I'm not worried about my safety, Major Daggett.
But I am.
But in a case like this...
There are no exceptions mentioned, Mrs. Wintner.
What do I care about a treaty with those savages who murdered my husband?
The treaty was made, ma'am, to prevent other men from dying the way your husband did.
Captain Quince, I'm beginning to understand why these Indian troubles go on and on. I've wondered about that. Wondered why you didn't just wipe them out. I think you're afraid of them.
It's not that easy. The Indians are people, too. They have rights.
I'm not interested in their rights, Captain Quince. And I'm not interested in your orders, Major Daggett. Am I to understand that you refuse to allow me to go to Lance Creek?
That's correct. I can't risk your life nor the lives of my men. And I won't risk a general Indian war.
Very well. Captain Quince, would you be good enough to show me to my quarters?
Of course, ma'am.
Company! Right front in the line!
Right front in the line!
Ho! Company! Ho! Sergeant Gorse.
Yes, sir.
Dismiss the company.
Yes, sir. Company, prepare to dismount. Dismount. Fire off.
Well, Captain Quince, it's all very impressive. The parade ground, the drilling.
Yes, it is, Miss Wintner.
Until you remember that in spite of all the military show, you're still afraid to face the Indians.
Have you completed your tour of inspection?
Yes. Lieutenant Seibert's has shown me everything, I think. It's all very interesting. Seeing the place that Philip called home. There's one thing I'd like explained, however.
What's that, ma'am?
What could possibly have held him here? What holds you, Captain Quince?
I'm afraid I can't explain it to you, Mrs. Wintner.
I'm sure you couldn't.
May I escort you to your quarters?
Thank you. I've noticed several men dressed in buckskins lounging about the store. The sutlers, you call it. Who are they?
Civilian scouts. Charlie Reynolds, Will Granby, Pete Hazen.
It was one of them, wasn't it, who found my husband up on Lance Creek?
Yes, ma'am. Pete Hazen. He led the burial detail back.
I must talk to him sometime.
He's under the major's orders, too, ma'am.
I meant, Captain Quince, he might be able to tell me things about my husband. Things a wife would like to know.
Of course, ma'am.
You don't like me, do you, Captain?
I
don't know you well enough to like or dislike you, Mrs. Wintner. But it seems plain to me that you intend to disregard every consideration to get to Lance Creek.
If you'll excuse me.
Come in.
Captain Quince reporting, sir.
Oh, Lee. I've just been thinking, Caldwell's due for a leave. Who can we send out to the Clearwater Patrol as replacement? Is Seibert's too green?
No, he'll do. He's come along fast.
All right, good.
Major, what about Mrs. Wintner?
Well, what about her?
I think she's going to make trouble.
I don't think she can. I've kept a check at the telegraph office and the mail. I think she's accepting the inevitable.
I don't. I think she's determined to go to Lance Creek, one way or another.
How can she, if I won't let her?
I don't know, but I think you better warn the civilian scouts, especially Pete Hazen.
He wouldn't be that much of a fool.
I wouldn't think so either. But with her, anything can happen.
I believe that. She's quite a woman. Oh, by the way, the evening social's all set up for Saturday night. Nettie's sending out the invitations today. Having a small dinner first. You're supposed to come.
Oh?
As Mrs. Wintner's escort.
Why me?
Well, you're an inmate of Old Bedlam. You're eligible.
There are other bachelor officers living there, Seiberts.
Youngsters. She's more your age. Now, don't fight it, Lee. Nettie's mind's made up.
Only one thing I don't like about your wife, Major. She's a matchmaker.
Yeah, I know. She can't help herself. Hates to see an unmarried officer, especially one as old as you. But after all, Mrs. Wintner is a widow and mighty attractive. You could do worse.
Major, some women are Army, some aren't. When Phil Wintner came out to Laramie, he came alone.
She seems to fit in fine now. Maybe she's changed.
Women like that don't change.
Just the same, you'll escort her Saturday night. You better present your compliments to her tomorrow afternoon.
That an order, sir?
Tomorrow afternoon, Lee. White gloves.
Oh, Captain Quince.
Afternoon, Mrs. Daggett. I'd like to present my compliments to Mrs. Wintner.
Why, yes, of course, Captain. Only, well...
What is it, Miss Daggett?
Well, it's very strange. But last night, Carolyn asked not to be disturbed this morning. Said she wanted to sleep late. But when she didn't come out, even for luncheon, I got worried. So a few minutes ago, I knocked and looked in her room. She's not there, Captain. She didn't sleep in her bed last night. Captain, where are you going?
To the settlers, Miss Daggett. You better tell the Major.
Lee, what do you make of it?
It's very simple, Major. Mrs. Wintner was last seen last night. Pete Hazen left sometime before dawn with 2 loaded pack mules, 2 horses, 1 rig side saddle. He left this at the settlers for you with a $20 gold piece. Guess it's his resignation. Didn't want to get arrested for disobeying orders.
Yeah, you're right.
They're on their way to Lance Creek. They got at least 11 hours start.
They've got to be stopped.
Yeah, if they're still alive.
How long will it take you to get B Company ready?
Too long. Besides, a full company up there will mean war.
You think you can get a small detachment through, 5 or 6 men?
I can try. And if we're caught, we might be able to talk our way out of it.
Well, they can't be moving very fast.
I'd say I could catch them about halfway.
All right, Lee. Take the men you want and an extra amount for each. Rations for 4 days and 200 rounds of ammunition.
50 rounds will be enough, Major. We have to fight it all. It won't matter how much ammunition we have.
I've lost their tracks, Captain.
There. There, over there, Gorse.
Oh, yeah, that's it. I'd never believed it, Captain. 2 days from the fort, almost to Lance Creek, and they're still ahead of us.
I underestimated that woman. She's tougher than I thought.
She sure must be. Captain.
Yep. And they've seen us.
They've stopped.
Ho!
Miss Wintner?
How do you do, Captain?
She gave me an awful lot of money, Captain. More than I'd ever seen in one piece.
Yeah, that's what I figured.
You're not going to stop me now, Captain. Mr. Hazen says the graves are just over that ridge there.
Miss Wintner, we're going to turn around right here and head back to the fort as fast as we can make it. Do you have any idea of the danger?
Captain. Up there on the hill.
Yeah, I see.
Riding circle. Signaling.
Why, that's an Indian.
It is, Miss Wintner.
Oh,
Captain, what are you going to do?
Might as well go on up to Lance Creek. Do what the lady came to do.
This is it. Right over there. This one.
just this?
That's it.
You're sure?
His insignia will be inside the rocks.
It's so quiet here. So peaceful.
Right now it is. Get a spade, Jenkins.
Yes, sir.
Miss Wintner, you sure you want to go through with this?
What do you mean, Captain?
Why, it wasn't time for a proper burial.
I see. Did they do anything to him?
Cheyenne always do.
You may proceed.
All right, Jenkins. Miss Wintner, why don't you wait over there?
Captain Quince, I'm not a schoolgirl. I came this far. I can stand to watch.
All right. Pete, who was this?
That there was Sergeant Tackleberry, Captain.
One with a red mustache, Captain?
And a laugh you could hear clean across the river.
Yeah, I remember.
And that one there was Lieutenant Williams.
Yep.
Captain, is that the Lieutenant Williams my husband used to speak about in his letters?
I expect so. They were friends. All these men were his friends. Men who lived with him, fought with him, died with him. He wasn't alone, Miss Wintner. They're all buried here where they fell.
I see. Mr. Jenkins.
Ma'am?
Stop digging for a moment. Captain, you don't want me to do this. Why?
I don't think your husband would care about being buried in Arlington Cemetery.
Why? Tell me, Captain Quince. You knew him. What was he like out here?
Like any other man, not very different. But he liked it. Liked the country, the men, liked the job. He was willing to die here if necessary.
Are you trying to say that he came here to get away? That he didn't want to go back home? That he didn't care about me?
He never talked about you, Miss Wintner.
Captain, all I want to do is take him back to a hero's grave.
He's in a hero's grave. Nothing you or I can do will add to that.
You think I'm a selfish woman. I was thinking only of myself. of my pride.
Only you can answer that, Miss Winter.
On the ridge, Captain.
Yeah, they didn't waste any time.
Must have been a hunting party close. They're coming down.
Must be 30 at least. Doesn't give us much chance, Captain.
Oh.
It's important to keep calm, Miss Wentner. Very important right now.
What have I done? Bringing you men here to this.
We may be able to get out of it yet. Talbot, keep those horses under control. When they get a whiff of those Indian ponies. Mrs. Wentner, what are you doing?
If anything's going to happen, I want his grave just the way it was.
Jenkins, help her.
Yes, sir.
Sergeant Gorse.
Yes, sir.
Watch her. Stay right behind her. If the Indians attack you, you know what to do.
Yes, sir.
Don't miss.
I won't.
What do you think, Hazen?
Can't tell yet. They're still bunched, ain't hurrying. But they ain't gonna be friendly.
No, we're uninvited guests. Can't expect much.
They're down and stringing out.
And stopping. Right across the only way out.
Well, they won't come any closer to the graves. Cheyenne custom, respect for the dead. Even the dead they killed. We're safe as long as we stay right here.
How long can we stay, Pete?
Captain, we might try cutting up over the ridge.
Oh, the minute we break and run, we're finished. I'll go out to him.
Might as well all go, Captain. There'll be no defending ourselves anyways.
All right. Miss Wentner?
Looks all right now, doesn't it, Captain?
Yes, it does. Well, ma'am?
Don't worry, I'll be fine.
Good. Now, everybody will move slowly forward, leading your horses. Move easily. Don't show any fear or excitement.
It's Little Bear, Captain.
At least he can talk some. I won't have to use sign.
That's right, Captain.
I'll do the talking, Hazen.
Sure.
Greetings to Little Bear.
White soldier, give promise. Stay off Cheyenne hunting ground. Why you come?
We come in peace, not war. We don't want trouble with the Cheyenne. They don't want trouble with us.
Treaties say you stay out.
I know
I
that
made them come.
the white lady came to find the grave of her husband. A warrior killed in battle here. She wants to take his body back to his home, to Washington.
What warrior?
The little captain. The captain with the yellow hair.
That one great warrior.
Captain, these are the Indians.
That's right, ma'am. Little Bear, the Cheyenne had great warriors killed here, too. But the Cheyenne could take their dead away to their proper burial place. Will Little Bear allow us to take this warrior with us and leave the hunting ground in peace?
Better leave spirit of dead in peace.
In Washington, there is a place to bury great warriors with much honor. She will take him there.
Better leave dead buried.
All right, Captain. We'll leave him. He's right. I know that now. Philip is better off here, in his hero's grave.
All right, ma'am. Will Little Bear allow us to leave the hunting grounds in peace?
Go.
Thank you, Little Bear. All right. Everybody mount up. Easy. We'll move out now, before he changes his mind. Sergeant Gorse, how does it look behind?
They're turning away. I figure it's all right.
We'll keep the horses at walk just the same for a while.
Yes, sir.
Captain. Thank you.
What for, Mrs. Wentner? It was probably your presence that saved us and what you said.
No, I mean, for teaching me a lesson.
Not me, Miss Wentner. Let's say this country out here. It can teach you a lot of lessons. Maybe I was wrong about something, too.
What?
Oh, just something I said about people not changing. Just something I said. You know, we keep moving. We might be able to make the Daggett Social Saturday night.
Fort Laramie is produced and directed by Norman MacDonald and stars Raymond Burr as Lee Quince, Captain of Cavalry, with Vic Perrin as Sergeant Gorse. The script was specially written for Fort Laramie by John Dunkel, with sound patterns by Bill James and Ray Kemper. Musical supervision by Amerigo Marino. Featured in the cast were Virginia Gregg, Jack Moyles, Harry Bartell, Jack Crucian, Helen Klebe, Joseph Cranston, and James Nusser.
Company, tension! Dismiss!
Next week, another transcribed story of the Northwest frontier and the troopers who fought under Lee Quince, Captain of Cavalry. Half a loaf may be better than none at all when you're bargaining for bread. But every Sunday, the Edgar Bergen Show calls for a happier arrangement than that. For each half of the Edgar Bergen Show seems somehow to be better than the other half. And with so much fun in store, there's no need for compromise. Enjoy all of the lighthearted antics of Edgar Bergen, Charlie McCarthy, Jack Kirkwood, Effie Clinker, Mortimer Snerd, Gary Crosby, Carol Richards, and the famous Edgar Bergen End Table Discussion Group. They'll all be with you again over most of these same stations every Sunday night.